Every day, new secrets and interesting details about the Squid Game appear. For example, Kai-hoon does not notice that the host is clearly revealing himself as a traitor in front of everyone. In this episode, we will analyze new interesting details and secrets of the second season of Squid Game. Let's start with the theory that player 388 Kang Dae-ho is the traitor in Ki-hoon's team. There are several facts that support this. For example, during the game Red Light, Green Light, player 388 is absent, while the other main characters are shown on the screen. But for some reason, Dae-ho is not among them. In the first season, we learned that VIP guests have private rooms from where they can secretly watch the games. If player 388 is a VIP guest, it is quite possible that he watched the first game from his room and did not participate in it. Dae-ho first appears comfortably sitting next to players 456 and 390. The key characters. This is hardly a coincidence. Perhaps he specially chose this place to spy on them. During the vote, the host calls out player 388 after player 390, but another player comes forward instead. This clearly indicates that Dae-ho was absent, suspicious, right? In episode 7, Dae-ho acts strangely. During a shootout, he shoots without aiming and wastes bullets. As a result, he simply spits on his promise to get ammunition for his team, hiding in the player's room. Many attribute this to post-traumatic disorder, but perhaps Dae-ho just wanted us to think so. The second theory is that Netflix has already revealed who will die in Season 3. According to the theory, the secret was revealed in a recent trailer where the actors are posing on a black and white stage. In the video, some characters are standing and others are sitting. The theory suggests that the sitting characters will die and the standing ones will survive. If the theory is correct, only 3 characters will survive. Soldier number 11, No Yul, player number 120 Hyunju, and the main character Ki-hoon. No Yul may adopt a girl with leukemia, the daughter of player 246. This move is logical considering that she lost her daughter in North Korea, and this move will give her the peace she has been looking for so long. Hyunju's popularity among fans and character development indicate that she may well survive until the finale, especially considering her military training. Well, Ki-hoon never met his daughter, who moved to the United States. Perhaps this is the note on which the series ends. In the second episode, Ki-hoon calls his daughter to hear from her one last time, but she speaks in English. This makes sense considering that in the previous season, we learned that the daughter was planning to move to the United States with her mother and stepfather. However, an interesting twist is that Ki-hoon's mother told him that she didn't want his granddaughter to leave because she would forget Korean if she moved. Ki-hoon's call makes us wonder if his grandmother was right. However, the girl hasn't completely forgotten Korean, as she eventually realizes that it is her father calling and starts speaking to him in Korean, hoping that he will answer. This scene shows that although the girl has adapted to life in the United States, she hasn't abandoned Korean culture because her father remains an important part of her life. In the carousel game, the crazy woman tells Ki-hoon something like a prophecy. There is a reason why your life lasts longer than destined, and you ended up here for a reason. This phrase hints that Ki-hoon should have died a long time ago, and this is true. He won the games in the first season, but should have died from the very beginning. In the doll game, he tripped, but Ali saved him. In the sugar honeycomb game, he survived by accident. A drop of sweat fell on his cookie, and he realized that if he licked the sweetness, he could win. He won the tug of war only because the old man played with him and told him the secret to winning. In the balloon competition, Ki-hoon survived only because the old man literally let him win. That is, Ki-hoon should have died at the beginning of the first season. But as the crazy woman said, for some reason his life lasted longer than destined. In this scene, the director of the series shows us that Ki-hoon is alive because he has an important goal, probably related to the pregnant woman, because the crazy woman keeps looking at her. Let's move on to another theory that is being discussed. Leonardo DiCaprio's appearance as a VIP guest in the third season. This rumor spread all over the internet after it was published on popular Korean portals, where it was reported that DiCaprio would play a small cameo role in the third season. Many fans immediately assumed that his role would be related to the VIP guests, and here's why. In the first season, the VIP guests were rich sponsors of the tournament who flew in for the final games. Most of the VIPs are Americans. They wear masks hiding their faces, which adds mystery and allows DiCaprio to remain in the shadow of the main actors. Leonardo has already spoken about his love for the Squid Game. He is a big fan of the series and openly praised it many times. After the release of the first season, he even took a photo with Lee Young-jae, who played the main role. During their meeting, Leo said that he was incredibly lucky to become a part of such an amazing project, and everything seemed too perfect. But recently, Netflix made a statement that the rumors about DiCaprio's role are not true. However, is it worth believing this? If DiCaprio really does star in the project, it is logical that Netflix would hide this fact in order to maintain the intrigue. In the carousel game, during the last round, it was announced that only 2 players could be in each room. The interesting part is how player number 1 immediately grabs Ki-hoon's friend and takes him away. This action has a deep meaning because the host knows that no guard would dare to eliminate him no matter what. As a result, he decided to take Ki-hoon's friend with him to protect him. However, his motivation was that he wanted to kill him himself in the future. From the beginning, he knew that this man was Ki-hoon's only friend and that the death of his friend would be the biggest blow to him. The host had planned this death from the beginning. This season, the soldiers' appearance has changed a bit. This time their masks have become slightly transparent, allowing us to see part of the person's face behind the mask. In the first season, this was impossible. Their masks were completely solid and showed nothing but a black texture. Why did this change happen in the first season? The goal was to portray the soldiers as completely anonymous beings. They were not people, but merciless soldiers. However, in the second season, the director decided to make them more human. We are told about how a woman becomes a pink soldier to get her lost daughter back. The series tries to show that the guards are also people, despite everything. By seeing part of their face behind their masks, we understand that real people are hiding behind triangles, squares, and circles. The Squid Game has developed a brutal technique to destroy players not only physically, but also mentally. Let me explain. In Season 2, we were introduced to the pentathlon game. Here, players have to form teams of 5. This game is designed to unite the participants and make them become friends. However, the next game of Carousel forces the teams to split up and enter different doors. With each round, the number of players in the room decreases, and the teams are forced to eliminate some members of the group. This is done so that the players first become friends in the pentathlon and then betray or even eliminate each other in the carousel. We saw this with the Thanos team, where all the participants eventually dumped each other. Of course, this technique is not new. It was used in the first season as well. There was a tug-of-war game where players formed teams and friendships developed between them. But then came the marble game, where the participants were forced to eliminate their partners. This technique demonstrates how cruel the organization of the Squid Game is. For them, it is not enough to simply eliminate people. They want the deaths to be painful. If all the participants were strangers, the suffering would not be so intense. But when the players become friends, the betrayal becomes more painful and therefore more exciting for the VIP guests. In the pentathlon game, the host played with the main characters. Curiously, their team was the last one. Obviously, the front man could not die in the games, so his group was placed last, so that there would be no witnesses in case of failure. If this happened, the soldiers would simply kill everyone except the host. Since there would be no other teams left, there would be no witnesses either. From the very beginning, the number 1 player acted very carefully. This is not surprising, because in the first season, the elderly Il-nam also used similar tricks to ensure his survival in the games. In the tug-of-war game, the old man's team also competed last. Also in the pentathlon game, we witnessed an epic moment when player 388 Deho won the Gongi game. Deho demonstrated his skill, saying that he often played this game with his sisters. However, behind-the-scenes videos showed that the actor did not perform these movements himself. For filming, the team hired a professional gongi player. This specialist performed all the hand movements, which were then edited with footage of Deho to create the illusion that he did everything himself. The actor who played Deho said that he trained a lot for this scene because he thought that he would be the one to perform all the movements. But in the end, the production decided that a professional would do everything. In the second episode, we learned that the North Korean girl works as a children's entertainer. But in the same episode, she quits and returns to the Squid Game as a soldier. One of her co-workers was worried about how she managed to last so many hours in a bunny-headed costume. but we assumed she was already used to wearing a mask for many hours. A bunny head for her was nothing compared to that. When Kai-hoon plans his mutiny against the soldiers, he conspires with his friends and says that they will go against the game's leaders. Here, Kai-hoon looks up, pointing to where he thinks the leader, the host, is. The interesting thing is that in this scene, everyone is looking at the ceiling except for player number 1. He looks straight at Ki-hoon without looking up to the ceiling because he knows that there is no one important there. In his mind, Ki-hoon is challenging him, so he looks right back at him. This scene symbolically shows us how the host has been deceiving Ki-hoon all this time. Every time Ki-hoon points one way, the front man is already in another. He is always one step ahead of all the main characters' plans. Write in the comments what details you noticed. And that's all for me. Thanks for watching and see you in new videos.